Orange River is South Africa's largest river, and this lower Orange River is very unknown. From Kgalagadi's waterfalls about 30 kilometers upstream, the largest waterfall in South Africa, to the coast is about 550 kilometers long. It is a wild and rugged territory. It is a mountain desert, and the only lifeline is this Orange River. And everything on the sides, on the bank of the Orange River, is green. If you go beyond 50 meters, it is all mountain desert rocks. Very tough life. It is a river that is ruled by the massive Sharptooth Catfish in South Africa, the largest fish in South Africa, and the largest scale-bearing fish of South Africa, the Largemouth Yellowfish. Those two rule the waters, are the top predators in this river that flows from mountain sources in the Lesotho Mountains all the way through South Africa down into the coast. It is a wild country that boundaries the Kalahari Desert, the land where the majestic lion, the elusive leopard, and the world's fastest land mammal, the cheetah, survive in their natural habitat. It is also the land of a few surviving ancient bushmen. For almost 3 decades, I've been photographing and fishing South Africa's beautiful and wild places. Me and my boys have been doing fishing films and capturing wildlife and landscape photographs for about the same time.
Captain, you've hooked the left!
For this series, I dusted off my old footage and revisited some of the old spots.
Try to catch me howling at the moon.
To do that, I had to open my photo and fishing diaries.
I was walking by the ocean, feeling all emotion. When she came right up next to me, I got caught up in the moment. Felt like we were frozen, like it was literally meant to be. Time stood still right there.
Look it.
Time stood still right there.
A fishing trip to the lower Orange River almost always coincides with a trip to the Kgalagadi Transfrontier Park, an area that borders the lower Orange River. To open my fishing diaries, I started my trip to gather more footage with the Kgalagadi Transfrontier visit this time around. To get there, we travelled the long straight road over the dunes and salt pans to the town of Askam, and then took a dune road through the desert where the Komani San Bushmen, ancient tribe of people, still live. We got our permits to enter the park and started searching for the big cats. Almost instantaneously, we were rewarded with lion sightings and a magnificent cheetah kill, the fastest land mammal on earth. We saw the clouds build up around 2 o'clock in the afternoon and were rewarded with a welcome sight of rain clouds painting the distant dunes before camping for the evening, where I captured some amazing low-light images of the starscapes of the Kalahari. My fishing diary was opened in October 2007 when me and my boys hosted a group of fishermen that wanted to catch the big catfish along the lower Orange River. For the sake of orientation where we are, I'm facing straight south, and right behind me is north. Towards my right hand side, your left hand side, behind me there is the country called Namibia. To my left or your right is still South Africa. Behind me goes a straight line, a fence that goes up, the longest fence in the whole world, 1,500 kilometers straight up through the Kalahari Desert, where it meets up with the border of Namibia and Botswana. Just about northwest up there is ice, and places like Sossusvlei and Luderitz. All those tourist places are in that magnificent country over there. On the left-hand side, South Africa, and then you get the Botswana border, and then Botswana. We're in a very secluded area of about 1,000 kilometers around us where there's nothing. There's maybe one town called Uppington, and Pofouder, another 300 kilometers down that way, and then beyond that there's nothing but the sea. And up north, go straight up to the Okavango Delta, which is 2,000 kilometers up north. So we're very rugged. It's a very quiet area, and it's an area where everyone can watch the stars at night like nowhere else. After we unpacked all our gear the previous night, we were awakened by the soothing sounds of the river. Before we had our first coffees, the guys were eager to experience a catfish interaction. With our gear all fixed the evening before, we took the bait in early, and it wasn't long before the first catfish took the bait.
Is that thing still taking line?
Yeah, I was taking a lot of line.
No. Form?
That thing took...
Double up!
Nee, nee. Je geeft hem kans om zijn kop onder die klippen in te drukken. Fors hem nou, een stukje vinniger. Kom nog hier naartoe, wacht van die lijn af. Wat is wat probleem?
That braid snapped on the other one, eh?
I don't know, I'll put my line in stopping. How does it feel though?
Heavy. Exhausted.
Give you a nice workout?
For sure.
Check there. Bring hem daar, getrap. Dat is die andere wat.
Oh, I get blue in the morning.
Don't do this anymore, Captain.
I get blue in the evening too.
Was it exhausting enough for you?
A late afternoon on the Orange River is indeed a heavenly experience. Only me and the fly rod. While admiring the colors and the textures of the rugged mountain desert right around me, casting a fly to the largemouth and smallmouth yellowfish is a magical experience. And then, any fish that's baffled into swallowing the fly is indeed just a bonus.
Lord have mercy, I get blue in the afternoon.
We've had an excellent hour. We came across the river from the campsite. As we've said to David where to cast, behind with the structures, at the V where the water comes in. And he's had an absolute gas. He's had his first smallmouth yellows on artificial lure. He's also had a small largemouth yellowfish, South African small largemouth yellowfish. Very scarce fish. I took the fly rod, took a mustard caddis, and also had great success in the last 30 minutes. But the sun's going down, and we need to do something to eat while Dave in the background is going to try and catch some more fish.
Dave, glass of wine? Dave?
Thanks, Joey. Cheers. That, I've got to say, some of the best fishing I've ever done, catching the yellowfish. Smallmouth and largemouth. I think the largemouth's a little bit more aggressive. But Joey, that was well done. Thanks a lot. Excellent fishing. Yeah, I caught a lot of them in the rapids. And you have to reel quite fast. And bring your lure in a little bit faster. And then when you cast along the sides into the reeds, behind the rocks, a little bit slower. And that's where I actually caught the largemouth, which was excellent.
We've just had a very nice lunch. After we came back from the mountain, me and Johnny went across the river to explore some of the mountain desert terrain. And we quickly ran into some leguan spoor, small antelope spoor like klipspringer, kudu spoor. There was a leopard spoor that we saw, so that was the noises we heard the previous night. We climbed the mountain and there's the variety of rocks that make this desert landscape quite unique. There's the desert shrubbery that you normally get beyond the river north for thousands of kilometers and to the south for hundreds of kilometers. We saw Davey fishing at the bottom there, and the riverbed or the gravel bed that is dry is quite clear. Now that's what you see behind us here. The rocks are normally the breeding place for the yellowfish, mudfish and largemouth yellowfish. They, as soon as the river rises, lay their eggs in this gravel beds, and problematic is if the sluices are closed, then these eggs lie on dry land and they kill thousands of fish for that matter. But this is quite clear. This is the typical spawning beds of the indigenous largemouth, smallmouth and mudfish. I was still unpacking and ready to do some drone photography when Harris had his fly rod rigged and started casting to the yellows that were turning below the rapids. As soon as I started the drone, I saw he was on something and used the drone to do the filming. He used a 9-weight rod. The largest fish within the system is the catfish or sharptooth catfish, Clarias garipinus, and also the largest fish in southern Africa within the freshwater system and one of the biggest in Africa. They grow to about 50 kilograms over here, and we normally have a very good time between the large catfish, and we catch them in the bigger pools, in the shoulders of the bigger holes where the water is about 3 meters to 10 meters. And at night they're massive predators, and they eat small mammals and so on from the side. And with all these drownings that happen, the catfish do swallow the odd human being down here.
Wat wakker? Zomaar.
Back to our quick 2007 trip with a group of friends coming to experience the raw power of the catfish. It was on exactly the same spot we fished as during my first catfish expedition in the early 90s. And after a full day's driving, the guys were a bit slow to get up.
Waking up. What you want about? What you want? Coffee?
I want coffee.
By the river this morning, I went for a walk.
The coffee's coming inside.
Good.
Huh?
Lots. Bring it in buckets.
We took the bait in early as we had only 2 days of fishing planned and didn't wait for the evening to take the bait in.
That is a disposal system of milk.
The Kgalagadi Falls is just around the corner here in this valley. There's many a legend that started in this specific area. Of course, diamonds are prolific along this river, and at the end, at the Alexander Bay, it's one of the most prolific diamond mining areas in the sea anywhere in the world. And a lot of the local people believe that the diamonds are washed out from underneath this waterfall back into the sea. There's many other legends called the Snakeman. It is a snake-like creature that's got a diamond in its forehead, and it lives off people that directly look at it, stare it in the eyes, and then the small mammals along the side. And many of the deaths along the Orange River are contributed to what the locals believe is the Snakeman. The whole of Africa is a continent of myths and voodoos and all sorts of beliefs that the African people believe stronger in than anything else. So when I say that the catfish do swallow the odd people, what happens is if you go and look at the records of the police where people drown exactly at this spot and further down the Orange River, and indeed higher up and in all the river systems. But the Orange River, in this desert area, they use pumps, and when the people walk onto the pumps to repair them, or when they're inebriated, they walk into the river without being able to swim. And some of them do that by believing that, and saying that the Snakeman, this mythical creature that lives in the water, lured him into the water, and then he basically just drowns and he can't swim. Now what happens over here is the catfish is the main predator. It's the crocodile of this river, and we've seen him eating everything. It'll grab dussies and small dogs from the rocks. There's a lot of records of catfish swallowing just about everything. And if you drown and you come down the Orange River, your corpse, and you lie this river, there's no doubt that the catfish will all grab you and finish your carcass up within a very small period. A lot of this has been proved and shown in dam systems up in Africa, so human flesh is not unknown to him down here, because a lot of the corpses of the actual cases of people that drowned, it doesn't matter what the reasons are, some of the corpses disappear. The police don't find them. The evening we barbecued a eland steak. Eland is the biggest antelope in South Africa. And we brought a lot of venison or game to the Orange River. So we made the eland steak. with a nice rosemary marula jelly and butter. Just after the meal, we were just about finished when Ruchard, or the next catfish was Ruchard's chance, and we took him on the raft, and he had an absolute fantastic time.
This is going to be bigger than mine.
This really feels very heavy.
As you can see, Hardus and Adrian is guiding them, and the main objective is to make sure that the head of the catfish stays above the surface or above the obstacles underneath the water. So that's the big thing. It's a brute force.
Kijk, je draait weer aan de kant toe.
That's why we've got an excess of 50 to 80 kilogram braid that we use with the catfish. With, as you can see in the clips with Ruchard, we use E-cat or rods that are specifically designed with the power to hold the catfish's head out of the holes underneath the water.
It was really hard work, but it's probably all worth it.
Is that your biggest cat?
This is probably my biggest one, yeah.
Is it good
20
fight? Is it a
kgs.
nice place?
My hands are sore, my arms are sore. I'm exhausted basically.
Good.
This is a big fish, huh?
Simon, tell us what happened there.
Hardest drove the bait out and dropped it in this bloody great thing's mouth, and Adrian gave me the rod, and it took us a while to get one in, and there's another one going there.
Come on.
Take it. Hook it. Okay,
Another one on.
okay, live action shot.
Bob achter hom.
Another one. This one will go back. Come on, big boy.
Come on, huh? That's it.
Thanks, Papa Joe.
What tackle have you got there, Simon?
This is a bloody great rod with a nice reel. Some really good line.
Quarter of a piece of carp. Darius went to take it in. Was in the water for about 10 minutes.
Do you know what you're doing, or is there too many catfish?
No, I don't know actually what we're doing. It's getting a bit too much now.
I can feel the boys shaking. They're heavy fish. Bonus.
After how many minutes here?
About 3.
Keep the light on.
Okay guys, we've been here about now, must be 20 minutes. We dropped the baits about 20 minutes ago. Our first fish came out after about 3 minutes, which was 20 kilograms. So all in 20 minutes, we pulled out 3 fish. The guys have worked really hard. They look a bit tired, ready for a beer.
Catfish trips that we do, where we catch catfish like tonight, is we give them right of way in the river. We let them sleep. We don't disturb them. And around this time, we take the lines in, and when we do that, the people's got to be ready. So when we had a meal, for instance, we can't take in the rods and then eat and then expect to catch a catfish. You've got to stand by, because the moment that catfish runs, you've got to strike. You can't give him any reel, because as soon as the catfish grabs it and he feels resistance, he goes with his head underneath a rock or a tree stump in the water, and once he's put his flat head under that rocks or that tree stumps, you won't get him out. So what we do in the evening is quite brute force. Okay, what we do, we got into the boat now, and Adrian passed me the rod. He's going to hold the rod in exactly the right tension, and what we're going to do is we're going to watch out all the time that the hook doesn't set in the raft or in our fingers and so on. So it's very important that you trust the guy on the bank, and he knows exactly when to let loose when you get stuck or something like that. As soon as the line's going to drop, he's going to work out all the tension to make sure that there's no loop caused by the flow in the line. And we're going to go to a spot where we've identified with a fish finder, which we'll show you later, where exactly the spot is where the big cats are holding. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I have to go around where I've dropped the first line. The first line was dropped over there, so I'm going to go around it, make sure that I don't pick up the first line. He's just communicated to me to tell me that The spool is three quarters empty, so we know we can't go beyond that line if a big cat picks it up. But the nice thing is we've got a clear bank, so whenever the catfish is going to run, he can run all the way to the side here and fight the fish in about 60 meters away from this. Look at the side here, very close to the reed bush. Okay! Slack! Okay, what I've done is I've asked him to slack now so that the bait drops straight down. Move away from the line. What you'll notice is that we're using a electric motor, no chemical spillage on the river, no diesel or fuel, and also very little noise pollution when we fish for the catfish. And just to confirm I picked the right spot to drop the bait, Adrian was on a catfish even before I was back on the bank. Okay, good luck. Go. Nice one, nice Adrian. This is your fish. Okay, nice sharptooth catfish. Exactly on the spot we saw it before we dropped the catfish. The bait we saw it in the hole. Alright, to the point where we now call it catfish hole. But the big ones of this hole is on that spot. Nice healthy catfish, grey, strong bull, same size over here than the head. Probably about a 10-year, 11-year specimen. The sets of teeth, Velcro like teeth, very effective. It cuts through any slime on a fish that you can hold with a hand. The small teeth of the catfish, it's got two sets over there. It gets hold of it on the side and at the back of the mouth. Look at all the gill plates over there, quite strong. Right at the back there, two hard gill plates. It's going to jump now and cut my end. If you look at the barbels of the catfish, he's biting me, he's getting cross now, he's going to start rocking now. The top ones, they communicate once on top of the water. They can sense blood and fish and vibration above the water where they go for small birds and stuff. The big ones, obviously, very sensitive. It's got about the same taste ability than a shark. If you look over here, you see how shallow the water is. It's quite deep over here. It goes shallow. The catfish is made very magnificently. This big size fish can come right up to the shallows, right up here because of the flat head. And it can grab a small little fish right on the side here. Another fish of this size would never have come so close to the side because of the sharp head or flat head. My obsession with Orange River started when, after a year-long research, I identified a specific location in the Orange River where I thought the largest catfish must be living. I kitted myself with the right and strongest possible fishing gear, and me and the family took a week off to catch the huge catfish. After our arrival at the location, within about an hour, I broke the South African record a few times over with every fish we caught. I will never forget that day, as one after the other catfish entertained us with their brute force and sheer determination to stay in the water. The largest catfish of around 50 kilograms still haunt me today, as it broke the 50 kilogram braid line with the most aggressive power I have ever witnessed by a catfish. I was so enthralled by the power and character of these catfish of the Orange River and the magic of this Orange River gold, the two yellowfish species, that I designed unique one-of-a-kind inflatable rafts and started the first wilderness raft fishing business 3 decades ago on the then little-known Lower Orange River. We had to use maps and off-road tracks to get to locations along the Orange River, or had to make our own roads. Today, there are areas along the river that are much more accessible. The rafts can carry all the equipment needed for at least 4 days of total isolation along the river. They are motorized with the smallest outboards to just be able to move down still pools in the river without paddling or any effort by the fishermen while casting and fishing all the time. The fishermen can fish where no one has ever cast a line, and the breathtaking landscapes normally blow the fishermen's minds, as these stretches of a river can only be seen from a floating device along the river. There are no roads along this river. We marked all the deep holes on the shoulders of the rapids and good fly fishing spots with GPS when we scanned the river years before on exploration trips down the river and fished them when clients came down. The monster fish we caught on trips those days will forever be ingrained in my memory. At the end of the 4 days, we normally packed up and head for the airport to drop off fishermen, refresh for a couple of days, and then pick up new customers.
Hey Johnny, wat maak jy? Can you take the rod, Dave?
Yeah, well done, Johnny. Nice fish, mate.
It almost took the rod off into,
Well.
into the river.
Excellent.
I thought we're never going to see the rod again.
And who's supposed to watch that rod, John?
Yeah, who's supposed to watch the rod?
You, Johnny.
I was reading a book. Where were you?
Not you.
It was you.
Why did you leave the rod, Dave?
Joey, you were supposed to put it off the clutch, eh? You were supposed to have it on release.
Oh, so it's all 3 fault.
Yeah. You've got to take joint responsibility.
Wait, Johnny,